Olá, o meu nome é Patrícia e neste podcast vamos explorar as medidas europeias para a descarbonização com foco nas metas de redução das emissões de gases com efeito de estufa até 2030. Vamos discutir a importância destas metas para alcançar a neutralidade carbónica até 2050.
A expansão do mercado de carbono é uma das principais políticas para atingir essas metas. Este mercado visa limitar as emissões, incentivando as empresas a adotarem práticas mais sustentáveis e reduzirem a sua pegada de carbono.
A transição para as energias renováveis é crucial para a descarbonização. A Europa está a investir em energia solar, eólica e outras fontes limpas, procurando substituir gradualmente os combustíveis fósseis e reduzir a dependência energética.
A promoção da mobilidade sustentável é outro pilar importante. Incentivar o uso de transportes públicos, bicicletas e veículos elétricos pode reduzir significativamente as emissões no setor de transportes, um dos maiores responsáveis pelas emissões de carbono.
Como tal, a eficiência energética é importante e crucial para reduzir o consumo de energia. Medidas como a melhoria do isolamento térmico em edifícios e a utilização de tecnologias mais eficientes ajudam a diminuir o desperdício energético e as emissões associadas.
A economia circular é uma abordagem inovadora que visa reduzir o desperdício e promover a reutilização de recursos. Esta prática pode diminuir a pressão sobre o meio ambiente e contribuir para a sustentabilidade a longo prazo.
Implementar estas medidas enfrenta desafios significativos, como a resistência à mudança e os custos iniciais. No entanto, os benefícios ambientais e económicos a longo prazo justificam os esforços para ultrapassar estas barreiras. Portugal conta com diversos fundos e programas de apoio financeiro, como o Portugal 2030 e o Plano de Recuperação e Resiliência.
Estes recursos são essenciais para apoiar a transição para uma economia mais verde e sustentável. Iremos agora transmitir o nosso podcast com o tema A Descarbonização.
Okay, so get this. We're talking about Europe's plan to become a climate-neutral continent by 2050.
Wow.
It's called the European Green Deal. And it's not just some vague idea, you know. They actually put these goals into law.
Really?
With the European climate law.
Interesting.
So it's a pretty big deal.
That's pretty amazing, actually. What I think is so fascinating is that the European Green Deal is like a complete overhaul. We're talking about reshaping industries and impacting daily life across the entire continent.
Yeah, it's huge. So today we're diving deep into 6 key areas.
Okay.
A revamped carbon market, a big push for renewable energy, strategies for sustainable transport, energy efficiency measures, changes to agriculture and land use, and a big emphasis on the circular economy and waste reduction.
Wow. It's a lot, right?
It is. What's impressive to me is how interconnected these areas are. They all kind of work together. For example, like the shift to renewable energy, fuels that move towards electric vehicles, right? And the circular economy, where products are designed to be reused and recycled. That changes how industries operate, which impacts waste management.
It all kind of flows together.
Yeah, exactly. So here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They're expanding the emissions trading system, the ETS.
The ETS.
It's basically like a cap and trade system where companies have to buy allowances for the greenhouse gases they emit.
Okay.
And get this, they're going to include new sectors like transport and construction.
Wow.
Which haven't been part of it before.
I see.
So imagine you're a construction company. Now you have to factor in the cost of those emissions allowances into every single project.
That makes sense. So by reducing those allowances over time and letting the market determine the price of carbon, it gets more and more expensive to pollute.
Yeah.
It's a big incentive for industries to switch to cleaner tech.
So you're a company and you want to keep polluting. It's going to cost you. But if you switch to clean energy, you might even be able to sell your extra allowances to companies that didn't clean up their act as quickly.
Yeah, like a reward.
Exactly. This system is key to reaching that 55% emissions reduction target by 2030.
Makes sense.
Another thing that jumped out at me,
Okay.
they want to phase out the sale of all new fossil fuel vehicles by 2035.
Wow.
So if you're thinking about buying a new car in the next few years, electric vehicles will likely be your main option.
Wow, that's a big change.
The EU is investing.
Yeah.
a lot of money
Yeah.
in charging infrastructure
Yeah.
to support this change.
So that shift to electric vehicles is only one part of it. The source material also points to hydrogen as a fuel source,
Oh, interesting.
especially for heavy transport
Yeah.
and industries that are hard to decarbonize, like shipping or steel production.
Okay, that makes sense.
Uh,
Speaking of global trade, there's this thing called the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism.
What is that?
It's basically a tariff on imports from countries that don't have strict carbon regulations. So think of it as a way to level the playing field and prevent companies from shifting production to countries with weaker standards, just to avoid the EU's carbon costs.
I see. That's a complex issue with a lot of potential pros and cons.
Right.
Some people argue it's protectionist, while others believe it's essential for ensuring fair competition and driving global decarbonization efforts.
It's a bit controversial.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears to energy efficiency.
Okay.
The document highlights stricter building codes and renovation programs. They're really trying to make our homes and offices less energy hungry.
Interesting.
Imagine a future where your house adjusts the heating and lighting based on your schedule and the weather.
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of smart technology they're pushing for.
It goes beyond individual buildings, too. They're aiming to make entire neighborhoods and cities more efficient
Oh, really?
with things like district heating and cooling systems.
That's pretty cool. Even agriculture is getting a green makeover. They're pushing for low-carbon farming practices
Yeah.
and something called carbon sequestration in soil.
Carbon sequestration in soil.
Yeah, which is basically capturing and storing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in the ground.
Oh, I see.
So imagine the soil as a massive carbon sink.
Certain farming practices,
Yeah.
like planting cover crops and reducing tillage, can increase the amount of carbon stored in the soil.
Yeah,
It's like giving the soil a superpower to fight climate change.
right.
And it also improves soil health, making it more fertile and productive for farmers.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, definitely.
It's amazing how they're looking at every single aspect of life
Yeah.
and how to make it more sustainable.
Yeah.
But I imagine there are concerns about the cost of these changes, the impact on jobs, and even the feasibility of it all.
You're right. The source material acknowledges these challenges. The EU emphasizes the need for massive investments, public and private, to fund this transition. They estimate it will require trillions of euros.
Trillions over the next few decades.
It's a lot.
Where's all that money going to come from?
That's the big question, and there's no easy answer. The EU has set up funding mechanisms, like the European Green Deal Investment Plan, to mobilize those investments. They're also looking at innovative financing tools, like green bonds, to attract capital.
And what about jobs? A lot of people worry that shifting to a greener economy will lead to job losses in traditional industries.
The source material directly addresses that. The EU believes that while some jobs may be lost, the transition will create even more jobs in areas like renewable energy, energy efficiency, and the circular economy.
So there will be new opportunities.
Exactly. But they also highlight the need for retraining programs to help workers transition.
So it's not just about creating new jobs. It's about making sure people have the skills to fill them.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another crucial aspect.
Okay.
Social equity. This transition can't just benefit a select few. It needs to be inclusive and make sure the costs and benefits are shared fairly.
That's really important. Let's be honest, though. This whole plan hinges on technological innovation. We're talking about developing and deploying new technologies at a scale and speed we've never seen before.
Right.
Do you think it's even realistic?
It's a monumental challenge. The source material doesn't shy away from that. The EU is investing heavily in research and development to drive innovation in areas like renewable energy, energy storage, and carbon capture technologies.
So it's not just about throwing money at the problem. It's about creating an environment where innovation can flourish.
Exactly. They're also working to create markets for these new technologies.
How do they do that?
Through policies like carbon pricing
Yeah.
and emissions standards.
So there's a demand for these green solutions. Businesses will invest in developing them.
Exactly.
You've also sent us some information specifically about Portugal and the funding opportunities available. It seems Portugal is well positioned to benefit from these European decarbonization efforts.
Yes, definitely. The reports highlight several funding programs and initiatives available to support these projects.
Okay, let's get into those funding opportunities. First up, we have Portugal 2030.
Portugal 2030.
It's a partnership between Portugal and the European Commission, running from 2021 to 2027, with a budget of Wait for it.
Okay.
23 billion euros.
Wow. That's not all. There are 12 different programs within Portugal 2030.
12.
We'll focus on the 4 thematic programs.
Okay, break it down for us. What are these 4 thematic areas?
So the 4 thematic areas are innovation and digital transition, demography, qualifications and inclusion, climate action and sustainability, and MAR, which focuses on the sea.
Okay, sounds like there's something for everyone. Since we're zeroing in on decarbonization today, let's zoom in on that climate action and sustainability program.
Right.
What are its specific goals?
Well, think of it as aligning Portugal with the European Green Deal's objectives. Things like reducing greenhouse gas emissions, boosting renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, even protecting biodiversity, and adapting to those unavoidable impacts of climate change, like rising sea levels.
Okay, so it's a multi-pronged attack on climate change.
Yeah.
How does this program actually translate into funding opportunities? Like, what kind of projects are they looking to support?
Imagine installing solar panels on rooftops, restoring coastal ecosystems, developing cutting-edge green technologies. They're looking for projects that are innovative and make a real impact, contributing to a greener future for Portugal.
So if you have an idea that aligns with those goals, you might be able to get some support through Portugal 2030. What about the application process? Is it a bureaucratic nightmare?
It can seem daunting at first, but they've tried to make it easier. The first step is to check the calls for proposals. Those outline the eligibility criteria, the types of projects they want, and the funding available. Plus, there's guidance to help you navigate the process.
That's good to know. It's not like you're just tossed into the ocean
Right.
without a life vest.
Right.
Let's move on to the other big funding opportunity we talked about, the Recovery and Resilience Plan.
Oh.
The PRR.
The PRR.
What's the main idea behind it?
Well, the PRR is Portugal's plan for rebuilding after the COVID-19 pandemic. It's about building back better, greener, more digital, and more resilient.
Okay.
And it's directly linked to NextGenerationEU, the EU's recovery instrument.
So it's a national plan,
Yeah.
but with financial backing from the EU.
Yeah.
How does the PRR specifically tackle climate change and decarbonization?
Well, one of its 3 main pillars is climate transition. A big chunk of funding goes to projects that will help Portugal reach its climate targets and become more sustainable.
Give us some examples
Yeah.
of the types of projects that might get funded under the PRR.
Imagine investing in renewable energy infrastructure, like solar and wind farms, or promoting energy efficiency in buildings and industries. They're also looking at making transport more sustainable, with things like electric vehicle charging stations and better public transport, and protecting and restoring natural ecosystems.
Okay, it's a wide range, covering clean energy, green transport, and nature conservation. How does the PRR's approach to funding differ from Portugal 2030?
Think of Portugal 2030 as a long-term marathon. The PRR is more like a sprint, designed for immediate action. It's about getting projects off the ground quickly and making a difference in the short term.
Oh, I see. So they have both a long-term vision and a short-term action plan.
Yeah.
With all this talk about billions of euros, it's a bit overwhelming. How can someone navigate this and find the right funding for their project?
It's about doing your research and understanding each program.
So figure out which program is the best fit for your project. Then what?
Check the calls for proposals. They'll have everything you need. Eligibility criteria, funding levels, deadlines, application procedures.
So you need to be a detective, looking for clues and following the right path.
You got it. But there's help available. Both programs have websites with tons of information. You can even contact the managing authorities for guidance.
So it's like having a team of experts
Mm-hmm.
helping you through this funding maze. But those are just 2 programs. What about other European funding programs that might be relevant?
You're thinking about the European Structural and Investment Funds, the FEI.
Yeah.
They're a bit like a toolbox, each tool for a specific purpose.
Okay, I like that analogy. What tools are in this FEI toolbox?
Well, you've got the FEDER. That's like a Swiss Army knife for regional development. It helps with infrastructure,
Yeah.
research and innovation, and small and medium-sized enterprises.
Okay. Then there's the FSE plus WINA, which sounds like it's all about people.
Right. It's about investing in people, skills, and opportunities, making sure everyone benefits from this green transition.
What about the Cohesion Fund? It sounds like it's designed to help countries like Portugal
Yeah.
catch up economically.
Exactly. It's about reducing inequalities and supporting projects in transport, environmental protection, and energy efficiency, all key for a sustainable future.
And we can't forget FIEMPA, That's the tool for the ocean.
You know it. FIAMPA is all about sustainable fishing, coastal communities, and the blue economy.
Okay, so I've got a tool for regions, a tool for people, a tool for the economy, and a tool for the ocean. Is there anything this FEEI toolbox can't do?
Well, if your project focuses specifically on climate action, there's the Just Transition Fund.
The Just Transition Fund. It's about making sure the shift to a low-carbon economy is fair.
Right. It's about supporting regions and sectors most affected by moving away from fossil fuels, helping them adapt and create new jobs.
The source material mentions a few other European programs too, Horizon Europe, LIFE, and Erasmus plus EEL. What are those about?
Those are more specialized. Horizon Europe is huge for research and innovation funding in Europe, covering tons of areas like climate change, .energy, .transport, and the circular economy.
So if you're a scientist with a groundbreaking idea for a climate-friendly technology, you look to Horizon Europe.
Exactly. Then there's LIFE, which specifically funds environmental and climate action projects. They look for innovative projects that have a real impact.
So a nonprofit working to restore a wetland or a company developing a new waste management system might look to LIFE for funding.
Right. And then we have Erasmus Plus, which is known for student exchanges, but also funds projects in education, training, youth, and sport.
So if a school wants to develop a sustainability curriculum or a youth group is organizing a climate action campaign, Erasmus Plus might be a good fit.
Exactly. It's all about empowering people, especially young people, to become active and create a more sustainable future.
Okay. My head's spinning with all these funding programs and acronyms. But it's incredible how many opportunities there are.
It really is. Europe is serious about climate change and creating a more sustainable society.
But with so many options, where do you even begin?
Start with a clear picture of your project and its goals. Do your research. Explore the websites. And don't be afraid to reach out for guidance. There are resources available to help you navigate the funding landscape.
It's like anything else. The more effort you put in, the better your chances.
Yeah.
But the potential rewards are massive.
Definitely. Imagine contributing to a greener, more sustainable, more resilient future for Portugal and Europe.
That's a legacy worth working towards. We've covered the two big programs, Portugal 2030 and the PRR, and all those other European funding options. What's next in our deep dive?
So we've covered a lot of ground. The European Green Deal's goals, the different strategies they're using, and all those funding opportunities in Portugal. Now it's time to zoom out a bit and think big picture, you know?
Yeah, you're right. The source material brings up this really crucial point. The success of the European Green Deal really hinges on technological innovation.
Right.
We need new technologies to decarbonize everything. Energy, transport, industry, agriculture. Yeah, we're talking about more efficient solar panels, electric vehicles, carbon capture and storage systems, even innovations in things like bio-based materials.
Exactly.
So the big question they pose in the outro is this. What role do you think individuals should play in driving these changes?
It's easy to feel like, what can I do? These are such huge challenges.
Right. But your everyday choices actually do make a difference.
Yeah. The things you buy, your willingness to use new technologies, and getting involved in politics, all of that shapes the future.
So it's not about waiting for governments or big companies to fix everything. We have the power to influence change.
Absolutely.
What are some things listeners can do to support this transition to a more sustainable future?
Well, start with your own life. Reduce your carbon footprint. Choose energy-efficient appliances. Use public transport or cycle. Be mindful of your consumption habits.
Yeah, all those small changes can really add up. What about engaging in politics?
Oh, that's so key. Support policies that promote renewable energy, sustainable transportation, circular economy. Contact your elected officials. Join advocacy groups. Make your voice heard.
And of course, there's innovation. If you have a great idea for a climate-friendly product or service, go for it.
Exactly. There's a whole support system out there for entrepreneurs who are creating a more sustainable future.
Imagine developing, like, a new type of battery. That makes electric vehicles even more affordable.
Oh, yeah. The transition to a climate-neutral society really needs everyone to participate.
It's a team effort.
Definitely.
We need policymakers, businesses, researchers, and individuals, all working together.
This deep dive has given you the foundation. Now it's up to you to take that knowledge and turn it into action.
The European Green Deal. It's a bold vision, it's a complex challenge, and ultimately it's a call to action.
You got it.
The future is in our hands. It's time to build the sustainable world we want to see. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.